stands transfixed. Again, her cubs' lives have been threatened by her arch-rival. The crocodiles have won the day. The lions won't return. Nightfall. The cue for the lionesses to set off on a hunt. The cubs are too young to go. Chipatsua leaves with the hunters. So who's minding the cubs? The lazy sister. She can hear the others enjoying their meal. Her hunger gets the better of her, and she abandons her post. Katswiri sets off for the river, though Chimondo hesitates. The night holds other threats. Hyenas and leopards wouldn't hesitate to kill the cubs. Katswiri is still thirsty from this morning, but seems reluctant to drink. Both cubs got a big fright at the river, and they seem to understand that these crocodiles mean danger. It's an important lesson they're learning. Fear. They're finally growing up. As weeks pass, the dry season bakes the valley. The shrinking river pulls further away from its banks, exposing large sandy beaches. On one of his marking patrols, Mfumu spots the rival pride on a sandbank. It's the first time they've ventured this close to his territory, and it's his first look at the entire pride. The river is still too deep to cross, and this border is safe, but not for long. With 4 tutors, night school begins in the lion pride. The cubs' lesson: hunting. As a team, the sisters drive prey to ambush. It's a deadly lottery for the antelope. One evening, the sisters don't kill their quarry. Chipatsua summons her cubs for their first look at live game. As always, Katswiri is bolder. But for once, she won't be first. Perhaps Mum wants Chimondo to lead for a change. Adults seldom bring home live prey. To Chimondo, it's just a toy. He's only 6 months old and won't hunt until he's nearly a year. Katswiri's not tentative and knows exactly what to do. Her brother loiters in the back of the class, but Chipatsua knows this lesson is too vital to skip. Lesson over, and the pride feasts together. During hunting class, one teacher was absent. Now they know why. Their cousin rejoins the pride as a mother. Though their father has a favorite, Mfumu mates with all his females. Chimondo and Katswiri were bound to have cousins. It's a great achievement for the Lagoon Pride, raising 2 sets of cubs in 1 year. Mfumu can now boast of a pride of 10. Summertime at Lion Lagoon, and the living is easy. Just weeks old, the new cubs feed solely on milk. Katswiri and Chimondo practiced battle techniques. What could tempt a brother to abandon playtime? Mum. A surprise visitor. Buffaloes only journey to the river when the lagoons have all dried up. An opportunity for the lionesses. Chimondo has spoiled the ambush. It's safer with Mom. Another surprise. Who springs to life but the lazy sister? Nice try, but no luck this time. The Lagoon Pride will have to be patient. A herd of buffalo is like a fortress, but it has a weak point. Nightfall. As a herd, the buffalo are formidable. Better to separate an individual, and Chipatsua is the distraction. The pride takes up the flanks. They need Mfumu's strength for a quick kill, to prevent injury. It's the height of the dry season, and vast areas of the valley floor are barren and lifeless. The clouds building overhead hold no promise of rain. For the first time in years, the natural river boundary disappears. As some leave the Pride's territory, others enter. This is the opportunity the rival has been waiting for. Not even a natural hatred of water can stop him. He fears only crocodiles and drowning, and neither threatens him now. He cautiously announces his arrival. No answer. The rival slips unnoticed into Mfumu's territory. At Lion Lagoon, the rest of the Pride is getting to know the new cubs, but they're in peril. Male lions live to spread their genes, and the cubs will hinder the rival. If he takes over, he will kill and even eat both sets of cubs. A scent on the ground attracts his attention. Dung from a bull hippo, laced with testosterone which he cannot resist. This pungent fix makes him feel invincible. And caution disappears. Every mother knows the sound of danger. There will be a takeover attempt, and with Mfumu away marking, they must face the menace alone. Somewhere, the intruder lurks. While a sister guards the cubs, the Pride braces for a fight. The babysitter turns the tide. Females are the weaker sex, but in numbers lies the strength of a Pride. Yet this battle isn't over. The rival male has survived a rough night, but he's waited a long time for this fight, and it's going to take a lot more to get him back across the river. A new opponent, Mfumu is back. Nothing offends the leader of a Pride like the stench of a trespasser. When Mfumu arrives on the bank, the rival has already started to cross. He's too bruised to go another round. But Mfumu is not taking any chances. The rival must never return. A show of force now could prevent a fight later. Reaching the middle of the river, Mfumu issues his final warning. The rival won't be back. The boundary has once again been firmly drawn. Backed by his pride, Mfumu has successfully beaten his river rival. Chipatsua has made a conquest of her own, over her worst fear. Victory over the rival male has stiffened her spine. She's broken the crocodile's spell. Mfumu and Chipatsua have a lot to be proud of. The 5-year curse is over, and the pride has 2 sets of cubs to care for. Katswiri and Chimondo are old enough to run with the pride, join the hunt, and tutor their cousins. Mfumu has grown into a confident lion in his prime, and has kept his growing family safe. A brave father. Caring mothers, sturdy youngsters, safe borders. Is this any place to raise a family? Where else? Isolation has provided a paradise. But there is a price to pay, as fortunes change with the annual ebb and flow of the seasons. The Luangwa Valley experiences the most extreme changes in the whole of Africa. In the wet season, the river explodes its banks, creating vast wetlands which gently subside into generous oxbow lakes and lagoons. It's an Eden for grazers and waterborne predators. But lions do not celebrate the rain. Floodwater slows their access to food and can be fatal for young cubs. Come the dry season, the lions gain the upper hand. As the water disappears, animals are forced to make daily journeys to the river to drink. Most commute along dried-up lagoons, a route closely watched. Lion Lagoon is a favorite place for the females of the pride. Much of their day is spent resting on the soft grass and keeping an eye out for dinner. Resting is a luxury Mfumu can't afford. With ownership comes responsibility. It's his duty to protect his lionesses and guard their territory. To keep it means endless work. Up to 16 kilometers a day patrolling and marking turf. At precise intervals, he sprays his feet and leaves behind powerful pheromones. No entry beacons to rival males. A scent barrier is Mfumu's best defense. Only 4 years old, he's still too young to face a full-grown male. This weakness has not been overlooked by the rival across the river. An older male, full of strength and envy. Mfumu would likely lose if he had to fight. For now, the river boundary averts a showdown. Mfumu resumes his patrol. Every animal within an 8-kilometer radius hears his claim. At sunset, it's time for Chipatsua to think about her duty. For the puku and impala, the lagoon will soon be transformed into a hunting ground. Theirs is a bond of life and death that has been played out for eons. She bears them no grudge, but there will be a kill tonight. Two younger sisters often hunt with Chipatsua. Together they form the pride's core hunting unit. They know the drill, scout the terrain, and assess the best spot for an ambush. But it will just be two of them tonight. A lazy sister craves her beauty sleep. The dutiful sister targets a puku. Chipatsua knows better. They must wait for the cover of darkness to outwit these agile antelope. An aunt and cousin form the pride's final two members. This mother-daughter team sometimes shares the pride's kill, but they prefer to keep to themselves and hunt on their own. Chipatsua and her sister bide their time. Pursuit is futile. Puku can outrun a lion. Come sundown, excellent night vision will swing the balance in the lioness's favor. It's a waiting game for the puku. The lions work as a team. Chipatsua will chase the puku towards her sister, waiting in the grass. Patience. An unsuccessful chase wastes energy. The trap is set. It's a perfect ambush. The meal is small, but their aunt and cousin join in. The lazy sister is too late. With no cubs, Chipatsua can be a full-time provider for the pride. And her mate. But Mfumu will not dine tonight. His rivals remain a threat, and an empty belly is a small price to pay. of the dry season, life converges on the valley's sole source of water, the diminishing river. But relief is coming. The wet season is on its way. Chipatsua also comes for a drink. So is her youngest sister. The repeated head-rubbing and mock fighting reaffirms their pride membership and their bond as sisters. It's a simple act, but drinking makes Chipatsua uneasy. These waters belong to the crocodiles. The Luangwa attracts the world's largest concentration of crocodiles. With a bite 10 times stronger than a shark's, these are the jaws of death. Even when the crocodile is long gone, Chipatsua takes her time. The river is why she has no cubs. Crocodiles have killed her cubs 3 years in a row. This morning, nature will give Chipatsua another chance. She has come into Estrus, a 4-day opportunity for life. Once more, she and Mfumu can try for cubs. For once, sisters aren't welcome. Chipatsua is truly irresistible. Mfumu savors her scent and confirms she's ready to mate. Most females would slap and snarl, but they've shared too much for ritual aggression. Merely a love bite. Mfumu will not leave her side for 4 days. To increase their chances, they'll mate twice an hour, round the clock. Once, they glimpse the rival pride across the river, but their focus is the future of the pride. Even in these parched conditions, the river is high enough to protect them. The threat of invasion will subside when the wet season arrives. But another threat will emerge. Over the next 3 months, the Luangwa Valley again demonstrates one of its spectacular transformations. Lion Lagoon swaps its dusty brown desert for an abundant lake. In this season of rebirth, the lagoon pride has something to celebrate. Two cubs, a typical litter. Newborns are prey to hyenas and jackals. Chipatsua will keep close by or hide them while hunting. Mfumu is aware of the birth, but will not take an interest until the cubs are old enough to join the pride, if they live. Only one newborn in 4 survives the wet season. The rains end, but the landscape is completely changed. Pathways vanish. It's wet underfoot, and the lions make long detours to their hunting grounds. Other predators welcome change. Their once narrow habitat now engulfs the land. They can look forward to many new opportunities. Left alone, the cubs stray into unfamiliar terrain. Lions are born to explore, but curiosity can kill a cat. Just weeks old, Katswiri is a novice to danger. Her timid brother, Chimondo, at last joins her, and Katswiri leads the way into peril. Across the lagoon, Chipatsua is cut off. To save her cubs, she must face her worst fear: the water. Suddenly a familiar sound, and mother and cubs are reunited. It's a narrow escape, and not the last. For more than a year, cubs depend on their mothers. Each time Chipatsua leaves to hunt, she puts them at risk. This cycle of life and death must be broken. The cubs reach a milestone. After 6 weeks, they're strong enough to keep up with their mother. Finding another den might keep them safe for a while, but instinct is guiding Chipatsua in another direction. For Chimondo and Katswiri, the world is new. Katswiri means the clever one. Wrong prey, but right instincts. Chipatsua has made a big decision. It's time to meet the pride. The cubs are left alone to make a good impression. They seek one member's approval above all. Chimondo and Katswiri had never seen a male lion. Instinctively, they show caution and respect. Mfumu gets his first look at his cubs. But as their father, he won't show affection. His tolerance indicates their acceptance as full members of the pride. Mature males resent younger rivals. Chimondo is no threat now, but at sexual maturity, he'll be exiled. Chipatsua can relax at last. With so many guardians, the odds of survival have just risen. This personal time with Chipatsua will not last long. The cubs will nurse up to 7 months, but now they're ready for meat. Chipatsua can hear there's been a kill. She's hungry. It's been a long time since she's eaten. First, every parent's struggle. Putting the kids to bed. Chimondo finally surrenders. Katswiri reluctantly follows. Now, a midnight snack. Tonight, it's not the lionesses that have made the kill. Mfumu has caught an appetizing impala. This meal will need different tactics. Seldom does a male surrender a meal to a mate. Her charm has won her a rare feast. Back home, Chipatsua is greeted with an empty den. When she finds Chimondo, he is alone. From his scent, she can tell he's unharmed. Katswiri is nowhere close. Chipatua can hear her daughter, but it's not going to be easy getting to her. Katswiri needs her help. It's not a graceful rescue, but Katswiri is down. Chipatua can smell that Katswiri has had quite a jolt. Katswiri is a bit dazed and wobbly on her feet. But Chipatua moves them back to the den. The evening could have ended in tragedy. Chipatua must do a lot more to protect her cubs. Pride life has changed completely with this energetic duo around. The cubs brim with energy, and now with character. Katswiri never sits still, always after the next adventure, eager to learn and experience more. Chimondo is a mama's boy. Through harmless play, both are learning necessary skills to become hunters. As they grow over the next 3 months, Chimondo and Katswiri inject new life into the pride.
Tuyuk is on top and has fought to keep his crown. Tuyuk controls one large range of several in Katmai, but he's been challenged by other males many times. They compete with him for a bounty that Katmai offers. The rivers in Tuyuk's range annually erupt with millions of sockeye salmon. Every year, a new crop of the silverfish bursts from the cold Pacific Ocean. They struggle upstream towards the exact headwaters where they were born some 5 years before. The salmon run begins in summer, and thousands of hungry brown bears head to the rivers to fish. There are plenty of salmon, but there are also many bears, so competition grows fierce. All of the bears are desperate to add bulk before the next winter. Protein and fat from the salmon allows them to gain a third of their ideal winter weight over a few months. Every bear wants the easiest and fastest way to eat the rich food. As king bear, Tuyuk occupies one of the most productive fishing spots. This prime location allows him to expend little energy while he gains close to 110 kilograms before early autumn. but the first salmon won't appear until late June, and it is only April. Having used up his fat reserves during the long winter, Tuyuk needs to eat. Tuyuk's diet is diverse. He eats more than 200 types of plants. Vegetation makes up close to 80% of his diet now, and gorging on sedge is his first step to regaining strength lost during winter. He must return to full power, fast. When the salmon arrive, he needs to be strong enough to keep his top fishing rights. Today, Tuyuk grazes in a meadow in the western part of his kingdom. The pasture faces Hallow Bay, and its rich vegetation attracts many other brown bears. Nearby, one of Tuyuk's former mates shepherds two of his cubs to food. Anak means mother in Alutiiq, and she protects the small bears with her life. She's on high alert because small cubs are extremely vulnerable. Despite Hallow Bay's surface tranquility, danger to Tuyuk's offspring is always present. Anak relies on one of the keenest noses in the animal kingdom. She identifies both food and enemies from more than 1 kilometer upwind. And today, she smells trouble. Roaming males kill cubs because they're driven to ensure their own genetic lines. A sow with cubs will not mate for several seasons. Male bears will kill dependent offspring in order to mate with their mothers. Anak hurries her cubs away. Her instincts are sound, but the small bear's safety is never assured. During spring, the brown bears in Katmai have 2 raging appetites. While they devour grass, they also focus on mating. With Katmai's huge number of bears, hunger and desire are a volatile mix. Female bears are selective, and they accept only the fittest suitors. This spring, Tuyuk picks up the alluring scent of a young sow. Unwilling female brown bears can be dangerous, even to much larger males. In the past, Tuyuk's advances were always welcome. Today, something is different. The female doesn't fight, but she is reluctant. Then she rejects him. Alaskan brown bears can live 30 years in the wild, and at 26, Tuyuk is getting old. This spring he's been slow to gain weight. If the female bears find Tuyuk undesirable, it could signal weakness to his challengers. By mid-May, Katmai's spring is in full bloom. Tuyuk spends most of his time eating sedge. Greens enable him to gain lean body mass lost during hibernation. Every spring, this is his first priority. Since the age of 9, the king bear has fathered more than 50 cubs. This spring, for the first time in many seasons, female bears resist his advances. Subtle changes reveal his advanced age. Tuyuk's essential weight gain is behind schedule. His digestive system has slowed. Some teeth are worn, and his claws are slightly dull. There is stiffness in his rolling gait. His mating days seem to be over, and although he devours sedge, he isn't regaining his former majesty. His apparent weakness attracts the attention of a younger male. The king recognizes an enemy. Kaseen means alone in the local dialect. And this bear is not a stranger to Tuyuk. Several times over the past few years, Kaseen challenged Tuyuk for his kingdom. The king always forced Kaseen back down. Today, Tuyuk and Kaseen face off. Brown bears rarely engage in full battle because all of them are equipped with formidable weaponry. Adult males sport 10-centimeter non-retractable claws that can slash with precision. They have 8-centimeter canine teeth that grasp and then tear flesh. Heavy skeletons support thick layers of muscle that are remarkably strong. Brown bears are among the most powerful creatures on Earth. Today, when Kaseen confronts Tuyuk, the challenger adopts a stiff-legged strut. It's a display of size intended to intimidate the king bear. Tuyuk isn't impressed and warns the younger bear to back down. There is no battle today, but another confrontation is inevitable. Kaseen has seen up close that the king bear is getting old. Alaskan brown bears are the larger coastal cousins of grizzlies. During the last ice age, their ancestors shared the tundra with an even larger predator. Until 20,000 years ago, the giant short-faced bear ruled these valleys. The largest omnivorous mammal to walk the earth, these ancient bears weighed 600 kilograms and stood 2 meters at the shoulder. Long legs and forward-facing paws were built for endurance. Their enormous size enabled them to scavenge carcasses of mammoth and ancient bison and intimidate other prehistoric predators. But these formidable beasts required huge amounts of food, and the short-faced bear disappeared along with other giant beasts, victims of catastrophic climate change. They were succeeded by a smaller, more versatile contemporary, today's brown bear. Katmai's coastal bears grow larger than inland bears because the salmon they eat provide plenty of fat and protein. Females are just over half the size of males, but they're still formidable. On the other side of Hallow Bay, Anak and her cubs patrol the retreating tide. The mother bear demonstrates how to apply pressure on the sand and sniffs for a telltale scent. She searches for a seafood delicacy, razor clams. A small squirt of water reveals a clam's hiding spot. Brown bears are opportunists. They will eat almost anything, but resident Katmai bears rarely hunt. Between the meadow and the sea, they have everything they need. When Anak hits pay dirt, she uses her long claws with surgical precision. A single clam is a tiny prize. The beach has enough of them to make an ample meal. Brown bears have 2 to 3 cubs every 3 years. Anak's twins will stay under her protection through their 3rd year. But more than half of brown bear cubs die before their 2nd winter. Some are the victims of male bears seeking to mate with their mother. Anak must be vigilant. A threat appears. Cassin is fresh from his encounter with Tuyuk. The sight of Anak incites his interest. The family bolts. Cassin is agitated and aggressive. Two other bears are searching for clams. The newcomers are almost grown, but they are inexperienced. Neither is a match for Cassin. The young bears flee. Cassin pursues them. But not for long. each brief encounter builds his confidence. It is early July, and the sockeye salmon have arrived from the Pacific. Over 30 million fish force their way up Katmai's streams and rivers. Each one struggles to reach the exact spot where it was born around 5 years before. The sockeye salmon life cycle begins and ends in freshwater lakes and streams. Salmon fry live in their native lake for about 2 years. Then the young fish head to sea, where they spend another 2 to 3 years. Just before they fully mature, they leave the ocean. Using the sun's orientation and the Earth's magnetic field, they navigate back to their home stream. Upon arrival, scent guides the fish to their birthplace. Females lay eggs and males fertilize them. The spent fish die once the timeless cycle is renewed. If they're successful, they've completed close to a 16,000-kilometer journey. The salmon are so driven that they no longer eat. Swimming constantly, they battle strong currents, waterfalls, and hungry bears. Tuyuk travels kilometers to the falls in order to feast on salmon. This year, the salmon run is especially critical for this king bear. Tuyuk's not in top form. He hasn't gained enough weight on a diet of grass. The old bear needs a protein boost, fast. His rival Cassim is already at the fishing grounds. Taking control of the king bear's rocky throne will afford him the most valuable fishing rights. The young challenger is ready to make his move at the first opportunity. This is where rank in brown bear hierarchy matters most. On the river, a granite stream bed forms a ledge 1.2 meters high. The cascade is an obstacle for the salmon, but it's a feeding bonus for the bears. The salmon must find a seam to drive their bodies through in order to swim further upstream to their destination. First, the fish collect in pools beneath the falls. Then they launch themselves with enough force to break the surface. The technique propels them above the falls, but it also serves them directly to the bears. Katmai's most dominant bears like Tuyuk are drawn to the falls. A rocky outcrop midway across is one of the best fishing positions on the river. Control of this perch gives its owner a critical advantage. Here, fishing requires virtually no effort. It's possible to pack on weight and save energy at the same time. For 10 years, this prime part of the outcrop has belonged to Tuyuk. When he arrives, he will immediately assume his position. downstream, females and younger bears leap headlong into the roiling waters. Here it takes more work to catch fish. Bears downstream may eat fewer salmon, but most of them manage. They display a range of skill and style. Even injured bears have success if they've perfected their technique. Anik takes a big risk as she brings her cubs to the river. Dangerous males fish here too. The cubs need the nourishment provided by the salmon, but Anik will have difficulty keeping them safe in the rapids. Patrols the stream. Two other cubs avoid the aggressive male. The swift current separates Anik from her young. Cassim sees his opportunity. He attacks. Cassim could slaughter the male bears within seconds. Anik won't allow this. At this moment, she may be the most dangerous bear in Katmai. Cassim outweighs the mother bear by 230 kilograms, but he backs away. Fighting Anik is not worth his energy today, and the summer isn't over yet. Cassim sees an opportunity to take Tuyuk's position above the falls. He chooses the prized spot. As he has for decades, Tuyuk arrives on the scene. Instinctively, the old king bear moves toward his preferred perch at the top of the falls. He's accustomed to catching and eating more than 23 kilograms of salmon in a single day. Mid-meal, Cassim senses the king bear approaching. Now the balance of power teeters above the falls. Tuyuk has more experience, but he is a weakened warrior. Against his younger, stronger rival, his only chance is to strike fiercely and first. This time, Cassim responds with confidence and aggression. Tuyuk lands beneath the falls in another bear's claim. The fallen king is chased further downstream. Cassim now fishes from the throne. His coup is not complete until he finds a willing mate. Only then will the challenger assume his full status as King Bear. Now that Cassim controls the falls, Tuyuk loses the benefits of an easy perch. When he tries to fish, other bears take advantage of his diminished status. Tuyuk has lost his position of dominance in the hierarchy. Still, he doesn't give up. It's late in the mating season. Cassim is now King Bear. He exercises his royal right and moves towards a sow. At first, she's elusive. But soon she warms up to the new king. If all goes well, in about 7 months, the sow will give birth during the coldest part of the coming winter, snug in her den. The new cubs born in the spring will continue Cassim's genetic line. It's September, and winter is just weeks away. Cassim still gorges daily, but Tuyuk has trouble eating. In his weakened state, he's susceptible to parasites and illness. He enters a downward spiral. Tuyuk has expended too much energy. He is tired. The old bear faces winter unprepared. In the autumn, temperatures in Katmai drop below freezing. Colors change above the streams and below. The surviving sockeye are exhausted and starved. When they reach their spawning grounds, their bodies prepare for mating by transforming from silver to red. The fish have used up their fat reserves during the arduous swim upstream. Now they deplete stored protein to complete the final stage of their lives. Their bodies contort and their jaws twist and bow. exposing jagged teeth. Wasted and weary, the sockeye persevere. Even dying salmon appeal to the insatiable bears. In the shallows, Cassine targets a school of bright red fish. The 3-kilogram salmon he snatches has less than half of the nutrients it contained when it left the ocean 8 weeks ago. Cassine devours the brain and skin, parts still rich in fat. He's now a 360-kilogram behemoth and has added several centimeters of fat. He'll continue to eat until snow begins to fall. As Cassine packs on his final winter weight, Tuyuk battles his own deteriorating body. Though there is still plenty of food, the old ruler's body breaks down. He is alone and weak. Tuyuk has spent all of his 26 years in Katmai's paradise. He climbed the hierarchy with tooth and claw. Now the old bear may not live to see another spring. It's late autumn. A sockeye male finally comes home to his birthplace. A female claims a patch of rocky streambed and aggressively defends it. Fanning her body, she clears excess gravel and receives her mate. To stimulate the female, the male shudders alongside her. The female releases more than 4,000 eggs into their watery nest. Then the male fertilizes them. Only the eggs lodged safely among the stones will hatch in 3 to 4 months. Of the 4,000 eggs, perhaps 2 sockeye salmon will return here to spawn. As September draws to a close, the smell of death permeates the streams of Katmai. The stench is also the scent of life. Sockeye corpses litter the banks and shallows, but they create a habitat of perpetual renewal. Nutrients from the decaying fish will nourish the shrubs and trees near the streams and rivers. The salmon are the life's blood of Katmai. Farther downstream lies another body. One of Onyx's cubs is dead, killed by an unknown male. Tuyuk himself may be close to death. old, weak bears can die during hibernation. Life and death in Katmai's ruthless kingdom are always intertwined. A late-season gale batters Katmai. Some bears now brave a stormy lake for the last of the dying sockeye. Within days, the bears will need to retreat into their winter dens. Tests the water. She still has one of Tuyuk's cubs to care for. After this season of eating salmon, the male cub is nearly doubled in size. His chances of surviving until the next spring are good. Cassim is now a king bear. Next spring, he will patrol the wild shores and mate in the shadows of Katmai's volcanoes. But one day, he too will be deposed. Perhaps Onyx and Tuyuk's male cub will be his successor. For now, all of the bears prepare for winter. It's part of their cycle of survival in Katmai's violent Eden.
Bandhavgarh has become a favorite tourist destination. It's one of the best places in the world to see tigers in the wild. These are Royal Bengal tigers, the same type of tiger that lives in the Sundarbans. And like the Sundarbans, this is certainly not a zoo. The tigers here track and hunt their own food. But even with all the people nearby, there's no serious concern of tiger attack. Since the park was established in 1968, no one here has been killed by a tiger. During the same time in the Sundarbans, over 1,000 people have been hunted down.
The classical image of the man-eating tiger is that man-eaters were an exception, and they were old, and they were injured, sick, and they couldn't kill game or livestock. So they had to kill people. People are easier prey than our game and than our livestock very often.
It seems to me there are two types of man-eaters. There are man-eaters that get injured and are desperate for prey. But deep in the Sundarbans, they're killing even when they're very healthy.
Living in the shadow of the man-eating tigers is part of daily life in the Sundarbans. Each spring here, honey collectors prepare to take their chances to earn a living. The danger of entering the forest makes this a solemn occasion. their families and other villagers gather to offer sacrifices to ensure their safe return. But even with the permission of the park rangers and the blessing of the local priests, men from these villages enter the forest, never to return. As they travel out into the forest, they put themselves at the mercy of one of the most ferocious hunters in the world. The murky waters, muddy banks and thick swamps of the Sundarbans make it almost impossible to see the tigers here. Very few researchers have braved the hostile environment. Very little is really known about the Sundarbans tigers.
The Sundarbans at first seemed to me a pretty exotic place. Nowhere else in the world do tigers live in a mangrove habitat. And it's hard to walk. The pneumatophores make it, I think, difficult even for tigers to go through some habitat. There's deep mud. But there's one thing that tigers need. There's abundant prey, and that's why there are a lot of tigers there.
A census is conducted in the Sundarbans to try to answer one of the most basic questions about the tigers of the region. How many are there? The census takers are forest guards who search the muddy banks of this area for tiger tracks. The nature of this region forces the tigers to swim from island to island, looking for prey. While all tigers are comfortable in the water, the tigers in the Sundarbans have become especially adept here. This rare footage captures one of these tigers in the act. Seeing a tiger in deep water can be the last thing a fisherman here ever sees. The tiger is tracked to where it left the river, but seconds after leaving the water, it has dissolved into the forest. The dense wall of green can easily hide a killer. It is extremely dangerous to get off the boat. A census taker offers a small prayer for safety. Field Director Pradeep VS says they take other precautions as well.
Apart from the firearms, the 2 or 3 devices which has been devised for Sundarban conditions, one is the Tiger Guard. This is protective steel body structure, and this also use the bulletproof sheet, which has spikes on the back, because any tiger which attacks a prey or human being, it attacks mainly from back and on the neck. So this takes care of this particular problem. Beside this, we also use the face mask, because most of the time it has been seen that the tiger attacks when you are most unaware of its presence. So a number of times you can try to attempt the tiger food, that you are watching the tiger from the back.
Sometimes, the census takers don't have to travel far to find fresh tiger prints. These marks have been discovered just a few meters from a ranger station, which is protected by a high fence. A tiger has been here within the hour. While some work quickly to gather the print, the others keep watch on the forest.
Yeah, in the year 1995, one of our staff, Prabhas, was actually killed by tiger, and this was a very serious accident, and the whole census operation was stopped because of this.
Each tiger's paw print is unique, as individual as human fingerprints. By comparing this imprint to other casts, they can learn if this is a new animal or not. In this way, a rough census of the tiger population is gathered. This paw print, and others like it, are giving insights into this unique animal.
Well, the biggest thing we've noticed so far is that the tracks of tigers are really small. So we think male tigers could be even 150 pounds smaller than the big tigers elsewhere.
The prey itself may be a part of the reason for the smaller tigers here. The largest animals tigers eat in the Sundarbans are about a quarter of the size of tiger prey available in the rest of India. But without more research, it's difficult to know if the difference in the size of prey has pushed these tigers to hunt down humans. The honey collectors are now deep within the forest, in tiger territory. With the blessing of the tiger god, the collectors search for beehives. The tigers can be anywhere. But the reward is worth the risk. This is what the honey collectors have searched for: hives dripping with bees and honey. The honey collectors light their bundles of grass to smoke out the bees. Their prayers and their masks are their only protection.
There is a story that tigers never attack people from the front, but always from behind. And therefore they have carried out an experiment in the Sundarbans, and they've given the people masks to put on the back of their heads when they were walking through tiger areas. And in the beginning, the tigers seemed to fall for this ruse. But then they cottoned on, and they discovered that this was a ploy. And they again attacked people even though they were wearing a mask.
There is one part of the Sundarbans that has been closed off to people. It's known as the core zone. Around this is a ring of land where people with permits are allowed to fish or collect honey. But the core zone is strictly off limits to everyone but government personnel. Field Director Pradeep Vyas and his wardens patrol the area to keep people out.
Tiger attacks are certainly more in core zone because tigers are not used to the presence of human beings. They come in contact with people very less as compared to the tigers in the fringe zone.
Recently, a group of locals snuck into the core zone. They had no permits, no permission. A single tiger attacked and killed 3 men. Vyas and the others were shocked by the attack. Normally a tiger will only kill one person, then devour their body. Vyas believes the attack shows how little we know about these ferocious animals.
In my opinion, tiger understand human behavior very well, though we have yet to understand the behavior of tiger.
With so little known about the tigers here, it's difficult to determine why the attacks occur. Perhaps the very nature of this place can explain why the tigers in the Sundarbans are the last in the world to hunt humans. The Sundarbans is one of the most dangerous places in the world. Tigers regularly hunt and eat humans. In this remote part of East India, park rangers take unusual measures, hoping to keep tigers away from the villages, hoping to keep predator and human prey apart. Whether this noisy attempt at animal control works is unknown. This extreme effort to keep tigers away from the villages of the Sundarbans is not duplicated in other tiger reserves in India. Here at Bandhavgarh National Park, villagers ring the tiger reserve, just as they do in the Sundarbans. But no one can remember the last time someone was killed by a tiger. The tigers here don't always keep to the boundaries of the park. They regularly enter this village in search of prey, but strangely, have never attacked people. Raising cattle is the primary livelihood here, but the herders have no concern for their personal safety when it comes to tigers. This tiger, B2, is the best-known cattle killer in Bandhavgarh. He leaves the park frequently in search of easy prey, but even though he often travels near the villages and comes very close to people, he has never attacked anyone. Every day, herders near Bandhavgarh take their cattle out to graze. They don't enter the park, but keep to the land just outside Bandhavgarh's boundaries. B2 and other tigers, of course, don't know where those boundaries are. When B2 sees cattle, what he sees is easy prey, no matter where it is. But when people are about, B2 is loath to attack. People make him wary. People keep him at bay. B2's most legendary hunt took him far outside the park. There he killed a large cow and dragged it back towards his territory. In a display of amazing strength, he threw the animal over a fence before feeding on it for 2 days. But B2 has never hunted people. His size, strength, and quickness is superior to any human. But he has never attacked. Claude Hadencourt went to India to see tigers firsthand. What he saw almost cost him his life.
The
tiger attacked the car while we were stopped.
Arrêté.
We were listening to the barks of the deer that announced the presence of the tiger. Everyone was listening carefully, and when we turned around, we saw the tiger on the road, about 200 meters from us.
Effectivement, on l'a vu, et on a pu même faire quelques clichés, quelques photos.
He got closer, and we could take a few pictures. We could see the tiger was beaten up, or in an accident, because he had a big wound on his lip and was missing some teeth. He was walking normally, but when he saw all the cars, he started to run faster and faster. And finally, when we least expected it, he jumped in our car. I was bitten on the arm and on the hand. And why the hand? When the tiger leaped on me, I fell back. And I instinctively protected myself with my arm on my head.
It was a terrifying attack, but a once-in-a-lifetime event. In the Sundarbans, though, the tigers hunt and kill humans regularly.
We are in the jungle, fishing, and we are looking for firewood to cook with. In the forest, I saw a tiger lying down. Then it suddenly jumped on my brother. The tiger ran off with my brother in his mouth. I followed him with my axe. And as I ran, I thought, what will I say to my mother or my brother's wife if I go back home without him? I decided to kill the tiger and bring back my brother. I kept running and was able to hit the tiger with my axe. The tiger dropped my brother and ran away. I picked up my brother and tried to bandage his head. I screamed for help, but nobody came. I carried my brother toward the shore, and as I walked, he died.
Why do these attacks continue? It's difficult to know what separates the tigers of the Sundarbans from those everywhere else in the world. There are several theories, but little hard proof. Some believe the water itself is to blame. Because the Sundarbans rest on the Bay of Bengal, the salt content of the water is quite high. Typically, tigers live inland and drink from freshwater lakes or streams. Here, tigers drink the salt water, and some believe that a constant diet of salt water has injured the tigers, putting them in constant discomfort. This pain, it's thought, has made them more aggressive. Freshwater ponds were dug to provide an alternative for the tigers, but the attacks persisted. While an intriguing notion, there has never been proof that the high salt content is behind the attacks on people. Another theory is also tightly bound to the waters here. Understanding the tides is crucial to fishing in the Sundarbans. In several hours, these nets will be covered with water and perhaps fish. The regular movement of the tides shapes the behavior of the fishermen. And some who study the tigers of the Sundarbans believe that tides may also make these animals unusually aggressive.
Another thing that's really difficult in the Sundarbans, and it's a problem for tigers, in that most of the area floods tidally twice a day, and then in the neap tides, the really high tides, almost all of the Sundarbans is flooded. And we really wonder where tigers den. They may have a problem finding a dry spot to den.
There is another theory that the tigers of the Sundarbans are more aggressive than others because conflicts that would be avoided through scent markings have to be played out. When the area floods, scent markings that define tiger territory are washed away. Aggression then becomes the only way to defend the territory. When the water recedes, the mud is left behind. Some believe this mud makes it more difficult for the tigers to hunt, so they resort to easier prey, man. Another theory suggests that tigers don't knowingly hunt humans. Making a living in the Sundarbans is back-breaking work. Collecting firewood or rigging nets means constant stooping and bending. Some experts believe that in this vulnerable position, tigers can mistake a person for a small deer. Once a tiger has mistakenly killed a human in this fashion, it is believed that the animal develops a taste for people and is more likely to kill again. There is an even more gruesome theory. Some believe that the tigers have acquired a taste for human flesh because of the weather. Brutal cyclones frequently batter this region, killing thousands. The rivers and canals are often filled with the bodies of the dead, on which the tigers feast.
All through history, I have seen special circumstances under which all of a sudden there occur what you could call tiger epidemics or tiger plagues. And that is that all of a sudden there is an increase in the number of people being attacked by tigers. And I would say in 9 out of 10 cases, that is because there has been a sudden increase in the number of dead bodies of people, dead people. Either because of an epidemic, cholera, smallpox, or because there has been a cyclone, a tornado, a flood. And that's because all of a sudden there is a surplus of human bodies. And tigers thrive. They have more food than they can than they can use.
The list of theories grows, but is inconclusive. The tigers in the Sundarbans are certainly unique, and perhaps the explanation for their behavior can be found by looking not at tigers, but people. Through the late 1800s and early 1900s, tigers were hunted down ruthlessly throughout much of India. But what is less well known is that tigers were taking their own.
Nowadays, tiger attacks are rare. But if you go back even a century, or even less, 70 years, tiger attacks were quite normal. I've seen several records, both in India and Indonesia, of the tiger threat becoming so severe, so large, that people just abandoned their villages, that just went away.
Tiger attacks so fierce that they emptied entire villages are hard to comprehend today. There are estimates that as many as 300,000 people were killed by tigers from 1800 to 1900. The answer was obvious. Fewer tigers would mean fewer tiger attacks. Open season was declared on tigers. Closely studying this history challenges the belief that only sick or injured tigers have been man-eaters.
If you read about tiger attacks in the early 19th century, in the 18th or 17th century, they were so frequent that it is impossible to explain such a frequency by assuming that only sick and injured tigers attack people. So I argue that before, let's say, 1850, if they had a chance, they would kill a person. Perfectly healthy tigers.
Here in Bandhavgarh, healthy tigers don't hunt humans anymore. Boomgart believes that tigers can learn from history. Man-eating tigers in almost every part of India were hunted down and killed. The tigers that live in Bandhavgarh learned that fearing humans meant survival. But the massive tiger slaughter that occurred in this part of India did not happen in the Sundarbans.
I think tigers across India have faced hunting pressures for a long time, and so they're much more wary of humans than the tigers in the Sundarbans.
I don't think the tigers in the Sundarbans are afraid of people. The people don't seem to be carrying firearms, and the tigers know that.
The remote and hostile nature of the Sundarbans protected tigers from hunting in the past, and it continues to protect them today.
Even when they know that a tiger's a man-eater, if it lives in the middle of the Sundarbans, there's not much they can do about it. They can't really hunt it, and they don't.
The dense maze of mangrove swamps allows these tigers to continue to hunt humans, as tigers all across India once did. From mother to cub, tigers here have passed on a taste for humans from generation to generation.
The biggest difference is that tigers may teach their young to be man-eaters, and so that's why there's so many man-eaters in the Sundarbans.
Not fearing humans, the tigers here keep hunting them, and the killing continues. A young child is lost in the forest, at the mercy of the deadly tigers of the Sundarbans. This play tells the story of daily life in this hostile land, of the very real danger that lurks in the wild, beyond the villages. The people here believe that the tiger god, Daksin Ray, can kill if he is displeased. They believe he can read minds to gauge the amount of respect for him, that their survival depends on his happiness, or the intervention of another deity, Banbibi, the goddess of the forest. It is a constant balance between life and death. A balance the people here accept. They realize that while the tigers make the forest dangerous, that very danger protects the forest and their livelihood.
Most of the people in this zone are poor, and for their survival they have to go for fishing and other things. But they also admit that tigers' presence in this forest is essential for their own survival, because of these tigers, these mangrove forests are surviving.
The villages here are filled with orphans and widows, and people who have harrowing tales of survival. It is the reality of life in the Sundarbans. People here understand the risk. They understand that in the Sundarbans, humans are not the most dominant animal. That if a tiger decides to kill, it can and will. This is a place which has remained virtually untouched by time. A place where tigers don't live in fear of people. Here, tigers still reign supreme.